The following podcast contains subject matter that may be unsuitable for more sensible listeners. Views expressed here do not reflect that of any community that you would want to be a part of. Listener discretion is mandatory. Mama, what does trans mean?
No!
Are you done? Let me know when you're done.
No, we're good. This is definitely going to be the intro to the show, though.
Hello, welcome to... Fuck off. I'm gonna make you squirt hot tea out of your nose.
Hi, welcome to Tranifesto. I'm one of your hosts, Madeline. I'm a total asshole, and none of you should regard any of my opinions with any validity. I am joined by...
Reed Carter. I know everything, and I'm really smart, and know stuff. And we're also joined by...
Amelia Blair. I was going to say the same thing, actually.
So
we're joined by two smart trans women, both experts in their field of...
What's my field?
What would you like your field to be?
Like a nice grassy one.
All right, cool.
a soccer field?
Yeah, soccer
Yeah,
field.
football field.
Football field.
Yeah, more of a field of dreams kind of girl. Like if you build
Did you build it?
Yeah, and they came.
They came?
Yeah, all over it. A bunch of men. just in sports uniforms.
Mostly ghosts.
All coming over each other. This is my ideal world. All right, Reed.
So, speaking of things that people made...
Oh, yeah. Let's do our segue.
In our very first episode, we are talking about the movie from 2015 called The Danish Girl, which...
Oh, was it 2015 movie?
It was 2015.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Right.
So...
I thought it was 1926.
Yeah,
Oh, God damn it.
that too. So, we're going to go into this assuming that you've seen the movie.
We didn't even discuss what the point of this podcast is.
We're like awful at this.
We're terrible. Should we
No,
start?
no.
Again?
Keep going.
I
keep
think we
going.
should start again.
No, we absolutely should just keep going. I
Introduction
can always
to the-
cut this up
Okay.
later on, so don't
We're
worry.
just
So-
gonna cut it to shit. We're gonna do like a invasive operation on its genitals.
What's the worst that could happen?
And I'm going to go back for it
stages.
5 times.
Yeah,
But if
five
anybody ever makes a
stages.
movie about this, they'll say twice.
Yeah.
4 revisions and a botched uterus implantation.
I figure if you put a uterus anywhere that it's not supposed to be, I think you have a problem.
You say this like there's alternatives. Like I can walk into like fucking Bed Bath & Beyond. Yes, I want the uterus.
No,
It's
I'm just
painting.
imagining, like, I feel like you'd have a similar result if you just took a uterus and just tucked it in someone's car window or something. Like, I feel like that would have a similar effect as the end of this movie.
There's some gender anarchy. Just throwing a uterus inside a car and be like, you're a woman now. Thanks, Volkswagen.
That's very, very second wave of you.
Oh, yes, it's pretty
No,
good.
see, they didn't include the uterus transplant in the movie because they didn't want to give trans women hope.
Yeah, this is all one giant conspiracy. It's the Illuminati that's keeping us from getting trans.
Uterus implantation, you could do that?
Okay, so
Dangerous thoughts.
We're keeping most of this, by the way. I
maybe
refuse to cut
maybe you
it.
can put this at the end.
No, absolutely not.
On the first episode of Tranifesto, we're going to be talking about the movie The Danish Girl, which came out in 2015, which stars Eddie Redmayne as the first trans woman to ever get a sexual reassignment surgery.
For the record, Eddie is not trans.
Actually,
So-
it was the second trans woman in real life.
Oh, actually?
Yeah.
Actually? Huh.
But in the movie, it's not.
Yeah, in the movie, it's the first. So, in that case, let's start with, like, the obvious issues of this, because most people agree that this is bad representation for trans people and kind of a mistake. And I think that's a fairly uncontroversial opinion.
Yeah,
Do we have to talk about how she's played by a cis guy?
Well, no, I'm just getting
yeah.
that. I'm getting that out of the.
Let's just address that right off the
We're
bat.
taking that as
Can we
read.
just say that and...
Yeah, we don't have to address it ever
Bad.
again.
Let's
yeah,
go
we can just
on.
go that that's not a good thing.
Cis man playing
Mistake.
trans woman, bad.
Bad.
It
Yeah.
bad.
Not the best idea.
Yeah,
bad.
there we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. We can just gloss over all this. If
So-
you tune in for that,
Go
there's the payoff.
read a Medium article.
Basically, if you know anything about this movie, it's that
Read
that
a
what.
fucking book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you know anything about
Once
this
in your
movie,
life.
it's that happened and it's bad.
Yeah.
So
All right, we've established this.
we wanted to get into some of the things that we felt about it that we haven't necessarily seen.
Let's get to the sissification.
Well, okay, that's the one that.
Yeah,
is
that
something that many
is the
people have
pay
talked about.
that is the pay dirt for the
If you know
heteros
if you
watching
know
this.
two things about this movie, it's that it plays like a softcore.
All my
forced
notes
femme.
here are just, when does the sissification end? I see something about forced femme porn. Like, this is basically all my notes.
No, it takes about 5 minutes for this movie to get just obscenely horny.
Yeah, like, I just, like, again, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think we should have all been in separate booths watching this movie. Like,
Because me and Madeline have seen this movie before. Amy has not.
yeah.
And
I have not.
in my recollection, I do not remember the movie.
I've never actually seen a movie before this.
Yeah, no, this is your first...
How does this feel? It was your first
Yeah,
movie.
by the way,
what's your opinion
You
of
do
the
know
medium?
this sold the actors' souls, right? It's like, this is... We do now legally own
Well,
them.
that's like the real people.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think that they would actually get the real people to play themselves
No,
in the
exactly.
movie.
It's actually all turnips. It's the entire movie is just played by turnips. But yeah, no, I definitely remember like this movie being not so horny. Like, I'm sorry, there's no other way to describe this. I was hoping to have like a higher level of verbiage.
It just
for this
gets very
podcast.
horny very quickly.
Oh my god! Like
No, like the first scene with Gerda is just her doming some dude she's painting.
yeah, this is yeah. It's just like it's my ex-girlfriend all over again. It's just like I just sitting there and she's just like, no, you shall not move. It's just, I mean, this is the perks of dating pro dom. So.
Which is, it's so interesting because I kind of get the idea of like, you know, there's the narrative of, you know, the having the true self deep inside of you and always knowing that you are supposed to be different and needing some sort of inciting incident to bring it out. And I don't know how close this was to reality because we haven't read like the actual Lily L diaries, but it's just so horny and I don't know how to feel about it.
I mean, and this is kind of comes back to the whole point of just the idea of this is made for, I guess our original thesis, this movie is made for cis people that want to peer into what they think the trans life is, because like through your own research, this was a fictional tale written by a man.
Research.
Yeah, research. Your 5 minutes on the internet. But like it was a fictional tale written by a man who thought like, oh, I know of this person, so I will make a show based on this. And it was...
Well, yeah, and there's this idea that you can write a story that is based on a true story, but isn't trying to be a true story, but still posits itself as though it is.
Yeah, this is like that old kids cartoon where it always started with like it's like this happened to a friend of a friend of a friend of mine. It's just like none of this is accurate.
And so like the cis writer gets to capitalize on the fact that this is a real person while telling the story that they themselves want to tell.
Which, you know, if you're writing what is essentially a biopic, because that is sort of what the genre of the biopic is, or the not, but also from what I can tell, the novelization is much more fictional than like your average biopic. Like, as it's, you know, using a fictional person to create a sensational story. Also, but just staying in the beginning of the movie, can we talk about Eddie Redmayne's like soft boy egginess? Like,
at least you nailed that down.
No, he perfectly portrayed the awkward pre-transition trans woman.
Yeah, like, but how do you study for, like, how do you get that?
Yeah,
so good.
How can you
I guess
prepare for that role?
I think what Eddie did was that in my research here, in order to get ready for the role, he would go out and look at things and then forget what he felt about anything and then try to recall what feelings felt like, because that is the only look I can describe his face as. It's just like looking at something fascinated and just like that was Eddie.
Yeah, like it is kind of strange because like all of the movements are so fey and just so woman trapped in a man's body.
It's so much.
It is, but also maybe like less obvious than I would have expected from like I think maybe Eddie Redmayne's just a good actor. So and is
that's the hot take of the day.
Because I was thinking about the egginess, and I was just thinking about like it's laid on so thick, but also just in a way that I just can't imagine somebody being able to pull together without like some level of research, because it's so thick yet a little bit too real. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like some of like the way that he did like the jokes and like the subtle redirections, like, haha, you caught me in my deep dirty secret. Ooh, and just touching all of the clothing and just everything's so you're so beautiful. You look so good in those, I don't know,
girly aesthetics.
Ooh, it's so nice.
So Eddie basically talked to I don't know, a company called, or a website called Page Six. It says, to prepare for this part, I read people's stories, studied their art, collected their thoughts, met transgender communities in LA. I immersed myself in their lives, knew every transgender woman I could. I met their partners.
Which is interesting because that's kind of like what I meant. It's like it's not so much a man trying to impersonate what he feels like it would be to be like to a woman trapped in the body of a man, but specifically doing an acting version of all of like the weird specifics of early and pre-transition people, but laying it on with the thickness that you have to, like, as an actor.
Yeah, no, but like, can you imagine you're in one of these queer resource centers in LA and Eddie Redmayne walks through the door and asks you like how to act like he's an egg? And what would you tell him?
Yeah, you're just like busy making like fucking breakfast, and you just look over. He's just like, I want to be an egg. You're just like, fuck.
How do I look like I am trans, but like I don't really know it?
Yeah, because no, that's exactly, if I was to describe what I was like pre-transition to somebody who just overacts, that's exactly what it would have looked like.
Yeah,
You just need to like act like you don't belong in a human body.
You're just like, I'm gonna shed, and my reptilian self will come out.
Just imagine what it would feel like to have just the rotting meat of masculinity strapped to you and just letting it slowly shuffle off of your flesh.
You're a repulsive person.
Yeah, I'm a meat fondue fountain.
So I know you had a lot of problems with the way that they were taking the transition with the split personality of it all.
Oh god. Okay, this is okay. One of the two things I really wanted to highlight for this movie is, first off, how attractive Hans was. But we'll get there. But the second...
Pooty
sweet
poot.
Hans.
Sweet pooty poot.
Oh, God. I've never wanted someone who looks like Nicolas Cage and Putin to fuck me so badly.
Oh, God. Just...
But nonetheless, all right, so the whole idea, and one of the main overarching themes with the transition stuff is that Eddie Redmayne's character is like, I am two separate people. And this comes up, I've heard this before in my own transition, stuff like that. This is probably one of my top 10 top 5 even least favorite trans things, where it's just like the whole point of just like, and this is how we can tell this movie was written by a cis person, because like for most trans people, we're the same fucking asshole, like through and through. And like we're just getting healthy. So it's just like, if someone went in for like, you know, at least on my end, like if someone went in for like a treatment for another condition or something like that, let's say for example somebody got chemo or what the case is, and they came out and you're just like, oh, you're a different person now. It's like, no, I'm fucking not. I just fixed the problem.
Well, I mean, cis people do love to just say that somebody's a different person if they change, like, anything about themselves.
That is true. Like, you get a fucking haircut.
That is a move. It's like, you're just not you anymore without your white guy dreadlocks.
It was so egregious in this movie because she did this, like, Dr. Jekyll, Mrs. Hyde thing.
Yeah.
Where she would, like, switch completely as though she were a different person and then act like she didn't remember anything. And it's almost like the audience was meant to believe her.
Yeah, and then it was just like, oh no, I wasn't doing it, and because I wasn't me, it definitely wasn't
Lily.
cheating. Yeah,
That wasn't me.
Well, because I think that there's a part of it where I don't know how close that is to the real person's actual experience, because I can imagine if you didn't have a point of reference, I could imagine that being a way to process things.
Yeah.
To see like, oh, sometimes I feel like this and other times I feel like this, and my only point of reference is this fancy new thing called schizophrenia that they just came up with. Like,
yeah.
I would hate for anybody to assume that this is actually how trans people are. And I think that that's sort of the whole issue with this movie, is that we got a lot of interesting stuff out of it. And like, there are good things I liked about it and things I thought were really stupid. But I would hate for any cis person to think, like, to make any decisions or any assumptions about what it's like to be trans based on this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Something about that is the sexual nature of how she came to understand her gender, which is not necessarily inaccurate.
Yeah, because there's definitely, I mean...
Lots of trans women and trans people in general come to understand their identities through stuff like kink. Like not all trans people.
Well, because part of it is, I
that's
mean,
true.
you kind of have to like come to terms with your sexuality.
This is not like a totally foreign idea, but the relationship, that intersection between sexuality and like gender identity is misinterpreted so badly in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's true, yeah, because it's like almost fetishistic rather
Yeah.
than personal transformative.
Well, yeah, because this definitely borders on like autogynephilia territory,
Yeah.
which is also interesting because you have to think of like how, because a trans person has to come to terms with their sexuality, like unless they're ace or whatever, like they have to come to terms with their sexuality.
Ace people have to as well.
Well, you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, obviously it's different
Wait,
for
please
every.
don't make us any enemies on the first episode. I don't want to deal with the fucking emails. My email's attached to the fucking account for this podcast. If I hear shit, it's gonna be me.
Madeline hates all ace people
Tweet Ree.
and thinks
Oh
that
fuck no! Please, if anybody's
Tweet
listening
at
to this, yeah, tweet at Ree. It's,
if you have any problems.
yeah, exactly.
If you have any complaints.
It's trashytrans at AOL.com. That's the email address that she uses.
Well, I'm just thinking. So basically, I want to get back to it. Is the way that they use sex in this as part of Lily's transition, I think, is bad. But also, I'm wondering: is there a way that you can talk about sex as an integral part of someone's transition in a way that wouldn't give cis people the wrong idea? Because especially, like, you know, a lot of people start to figure out their gender identity, like if they're trans or not. They start to wrestle with those thoughts when they're going through puberty, which especially if you're assigned male at birth, you are being flooded with testosterone, and every thought you have goes through your dick anyway.
Yeah,
And the only like space where you ever feel fully allowed to necessarily explore stuff like that is often in the bedroom or
Exactly.
through
Yeah.
porn or through smut or whatever.
yeah, and like in those situations too, like, you know, when we were talking about the whole, like, you know, the safe place to explore, like earlier when, like in my early transition, it was very much like going to like house parties, kink parties, and stuff like that, and feeling safe to do so. There. And like part of it's just affirmation as well. Like it's like when you are, I was about to say you are sexed as a woman, but like I don't, whatever.
There is no correct terminology for anything. So
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so when you are Barry Whited as a woman, there's a difference to it. There's a different energy to it. And yes, I believe who else is a sex symbol? John Mayer? Jack Johnson. When you are Jack Johnson.
John Mulaney.
When you are John Mulaney. When you are spider pigged up the Mosquito. And you just... but yeah, no, there's a different energy that comes to it, and you want like that sense of validation that comes with it. I think the problem is, again, this comes back to the movie, which is the whole split personality thing. Like it's basically like, okay, because you're split personality, you have a right to cheat, you have a right to be an asshole. Coming back to even what you said earlier, like we watched this movie earlier, and the first time we watched it, we had both had a very different feeling. You know, the sissification aside, but the whole idea that like the most sanest person in this movie was the cis wife. That like she was totally on board. She was doing the best she can. She was number one ally. She did way more in a shorter period of time than she was asked.
and she had no way to deal with this stuff. And I think that's kind of interesting because I think, yeah, just to get to it, the one character that I think that was done in a realistic way was the partner, like was the wife, which is weird because it's another one of these things where, you know, I definitely recognized a lot of the stuff that she was going through. Like, you know, she, like, her partner was seemingly losing their mind in a lot of ways and
unraveling.
Unraveling, going, like, slipping into depression, like going through something that she had absolutely no point of reference to and handling it in bad ways, which is understandable because, like, you know, Lily also had no point of reference on how to deal with this stuff. And she was, like, doing her best, like, trying to be supportive, but also, like, being vocal and saying, like, I am losing my husband. I am, like, this stable thing I've had in my life is falling apart, which is interesting because when you're actually in that part of your life, in a relationship, when you are dating somebody and transitioning, it's a lot harder to see that other side. And also chances are the other person is probably doing some, like, toxic, unfortunate stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that when you are transitioning, you have to be so selfish.
Yeah.
It is like you to do it in a way that centers yourself and centers your needs and actually will get you to a better place. You need to be so goddamn selfish about
Exactly.
your needs,
And you need to be-
it's so hard to have that coexist with a healthy relationship.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, if I look back at it, like, because I was married for, like, at this point in time, like, 7 years, 8 years, and stuff like that. Like, you know, I can only imagine what it was like for my partner at the time. But, like, it is a situation because, like, you know, inherently I don't like to think of myself as an overly selfish person, but, like, I had to come to terms with that at the time, like you said. And that's okay, too. I guess that's a lot of things, but, like, you need to remember what you're doing and how it impacts people. And that's, I kind of feel this movie lost a little bit with Eddie Redmayne's character.
Oh, absolutely. Like, just
that,
immediately cheating on her.
yeah, and
was...
just, like, feeling justified. Just because I am this person, therefore I get to be an asshole. And if you call me out on it, you're wrong, or the movie frames me as wrong.
Which, when you're in that situation, is also very easy to say, which is something I think that, you know, especially, like, you know, trans people can easily say when the other person is handling it badly that they are the victim, which, you know, a lot of times, like, obviously they are, but also it's, like, more complicated than that. And like, you know, being farther from my transition, being X amount of years in, it's interesting to look back and see, oh, I handled that badly. They handled that badly, but I handled that the best I could, and I think that they handled it the best they could, given the things at their disposal. And obviously, like, everybody could always do better, and, like, you should always hold people accountable for doing more within their abilities. But I think that one thing that this movie just really brings up and makes really apparent is the fact that when you are in that situation, there is almost nothing you can do, and everybody's going to suffer unless things work out. And like, obviously depending on the person, but, like, a lot of times that's just the way it turns out. But also, like, the wife, the actress, I'm probably gonna pronounce this wrong, Alicia Vikander, I think. Yeah, she was good.
Oh,
she's fantastic.
100%.
Yeah, but, like, because the one thing that I remember the first time I watched this was this, like, I told you about this look that she has where Lily is just, like, blooming fully into herself, and like, the wife, her character is just, like, miserable completely, and just looking, and just, you can see specifically in her face that she is so happy for her partner, like, so happy that her friend is doing well, but her life is falling apart and she doesn't know what to do about it. And that's just a look like that you can just, like, an expression that you can have that she absolutely nailed, and it's devastating.
Yeah, because I think, like, we've all seen it, especially when we started transition. We saw that kind of look in our partner's eyes, or at least some caliber of it.
Not just partners.
Well, family members too.
family.
Like, the whole, like, I'm happy for you, but this is also terrifying for me. Yeah. And we also think that, you know,
well, and, like, she's a good ally in this movie because she feels that way, and she still does her best not to center that feeling.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it's weird to think about it, like, in this discussion is kind of dawning on me, but just, like, people's, and I think incorrectly so, people's identity gets wrapped up in your gender identity, which is weird, like, the people that interact with you, that kind of stuff, and then, like, to see that go away, that does hurt them. I don't think it makes it right, and I still think it's kind of like a BS thing, because I think the identity of a person is based in the whole spectrum of who they are, and everybody goes through changes of different types. Be it, like, fucking, you know, transition of a haircut or something like that. But no, the look was perfect.
Tore my family apart.
Yeah.
My last haircut.
Yeah, oh God, this is terrible.
Haircuts aren't a choice, Mom.
Redhead, really? We are a brunette family.
Yeah. I saw a doctor. They said I needed this cut.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I learned it from watching you.
The last word I want to have on that is just, because I think we might...
Hair dye is not cosmetic. It's reconstructive.
Are you saying your center part is who you are?
Yes.
Okay, just so we're clear. Also, for those of you, because this is a podcast meme, you can't see it, Amy's the only person on this planet.
I don't have a center part today. It's like almost a center part.
It's almost a center part, but she's like one of the only people on this planet that can pull it off. So if you do ever see her...
You can only just pull it off. Yeah. You're walking on thin ice, though.
It's not a center part today.
And it looks great. But yeah, just to go back to that, the last thing I want to say on that is I think that we might be speaking from a place of privilege because we had relatively positive transitions. So, well, I mean, you know what I mean? Compared to some people, Like,
Okay,
certainly
well, I mean,
did.
there'll always be people
Yeah.
worse than that. I will concede. To you.
it's just I think that part of the narrative needs to be that we can't take a monopoly on suffering when we are transitioning. And I feel like that is part of the narrative. Part of it is the whole idea that you're not allowed to feel sad because I'm doing something for me, and like trans people are victimized and I'm going through all of this suffering. And that is true. All of that is true, but you don't have a monopoly on suffering, and you do have to recognize that the other people in your life do need to do the best with the tools that they have, and they need to be mature about it, and they need to put in the work, because a relationship is a two-way street.
Yeah.
But they are also allowed to be miserable along with you. You know what I mean?
Although, like, something about the movie choosing to tell the story in that way.
No, but that's a problem.
Story.
That is a problem. The way that they told that story is bad.
Because they chose to tell the story of Gerda, I kind of feel that was the emotional arc of the movie, was Gerda's trouble.
Yeah.
Which I
understanding
don't think
her husband's transition, and like, 'cause she was the most sort of sympathetic.
Yeah.
And she was the most, I think, like, virtuous and selfless and good person in the movie.
Which I don't know if that was intentional, though. I don't know if that's us reading into it.
No, I honestly think, because I mean, like, thinking even like just in screen time and stuff like that, like, I think, like, just on like a logistical standpoint, I think Gerda was like the
main
focus
character.
Yeah, even though again, this is kind of like, this will come back to the whole thing. Like, this is written by a cis person, directed by a cis person, acted by a cis person.
Yeah,
and the focus is the cis character.
Interesting thing about you saying that is that I was reading, there was actually a controversy because she got nominated for the Oscar for the Best Supporting Actress, but there was a controversy because she was on screen too much to be a supporting actress, and the Academy actually argued that that doesn't necessarily apply.
Really? Oh, that is BS.
Yeah. Which, again, like, I think that, yeah, she probably kind of was the main character, but the problem with the production of it is I could see a cis person who is acting toxic and not doing the work in the relationship to see this character and feel validated and come to some of the same conclusions we did and feel validated. And
look at how selfish trans people are.
Look at how
selfish your spouse is.
You're ruining my life.
And look at how brave you are for standing up.
Look how brave and selfless you have been by supporting your spouse this far. You know,
and no, I would
pat
agree.
yourself on the back.
And I agree with all this as well. But like, one thing I'll bring up as well is, like, does need to be more support for partners of trans people going through whatever they're going through, because there's not a lot. There's at least some for us, but there's like not a lot for the other end of it.
But also, you know, if a cis person watches this and thinks that they are the real victim in the situation, like, and they think that they have a monopoly on suffering as a result of it, that would be a bad takeaway. And to come bring it around, this movie is bad representation.
Oh, no, 100%. Yeah, I think the jury's in. Bad representation. Say aye.
Aye. Knock,
right.
knock.
Also, too, like, this is just, like, if you want to, like, on a purely cinematography standpoint, it's well shot. Every framing is beautiful. It honestly looks like a painting in a lot of the shots, even with the characters.
You should do a YouTube channel about that.
Yeah, it's like I just
about every frame being a painting.
Yeah, something like that. There was one scene, though, I wanted to bring up just in particular that had poor taste. I thought it was the scene where Eddie Redmayne's character started putting on the dress. It was naked in the theater and started like holding up the dresses. The music felt like a horror movie in that moment.
Well, especially because they were doing like the wild horses scene from Silence of the Lambs with the tuck and.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, like, it's also too like, and this is like, it was a horror movie, but also I really appreciated Eddie Redmayne's dick in that moment.
I am glad we got to see full peen.
That was the best supporting actor of that movie.
Was it his dick or was it a
prop dick?
Prop dick or like substitute dick?
I'm scared to think if that was a real dick, because that was some.
Yeah. There's the question.
That's a normal looking dick.
Is this the first?
It's been a while since I've seen dick.
Is this the first instance
I'm gonna look at porn. You guys keep talking.
Is this the first instance of appropriating girl dick?
They did not even mention the mouthfeel.
Yeah, well, why are people not talking about mouthfeel?
Okay, so peen good. Everybody agree? Peen good?
Sure.
Yeah, peen good. Peen good. Han's good.
Han's good. Okay, we can talk about Hans.
Oh, thank God, I've been holding back.
So Hans was a character that they made up for.
Hans was made up. Gerda was a lesbian.
Care.
A child, yeah. Okay, so first, there was this handsome guy, looked kind of like if Vladimir Putin was a, like, not spoiled by evil and was very attractive and was a wonderful, good supportive person for
virtuous
Gerda.
Putin.
Yeah, was a good ally and was just a saving grace for this movie.
I love that scene where he was like, "Yeah, I kissed him. He was cute."
Yeah.
Anyway, you're also cute and going through a hard time, and also your relationship's kind of falling apart. Want to go out?
There's the bi representation that we need.
Exactly.
But anyways, no, the whole again. I'll get on it again, but it's the whole fucking cheating thing. It's just like, oh look, you have a trans person in your marriage. Well, fuck whoever you want, you monogamous bastards.
Okay, so let's talk about the rendezvous with the artsy fuckboy.
So there's this scene where
Oh god.
they're about to like fuck, and then he dead names her, and it's like, by the way, I clocked you the whole time.
I knew you were the guy, and it's okay because I'm gay.
Okay, yeah. So just so we're clear, for this is people watching this, if you're thinking like this is like maybe going to be a how-to to pick up to the chasers to pick up on trans chicks, here, let us give you a 101 of not to do. Don't fucking dead name us during intercourse.
Because it was beforehand as well, when there was like the what was it? You didn't ask permission to kiss me. Oh, I was afraid I couldn't risk you saying no, which is just not.
That whole scene was kind of
No,
creepy.
that guy was very
He was a creep
creepy.
and a chaser.
Although in the end, he put on a scarf and like a cute hat and became like an artsy boy.
Yeah, then he became a gay best friend.
So this is actually an allegory for the alt-right.
So basically, if you push yourself on a woman against her will, you have the chance to become her gay best friend.
I mean,
it is law.
is that atonement? Is that enough atonement? Like, if you just like...
I too have changed genders to get away from creepy gay boys.
What about the medical stuff that they kind of talked about just to get her into the medical system,
Okay.
but didn't
What,
really
like her
follow up
nose
with
period?
the nosebleed and the monthly
Oh,
cramps?
yeah. Like, I think there is some allusion to that being like, I don't know. Originally, I was told something to do with like anxiety or panic attacks, but then the nosebleed. Now I say that doesn't make any
But
sense.
the
No,
way
she
they
was having monthly nosebleeds and stomach cramps.
Oh yeah, no. Let's get on that. How about we take a look at the metaphors of this movie?
There's like this weird psychosomatic menstruation that she was going through.
There's a carrot.
And
getting
I don't know what
chopped
they
up.
were trying to achieve with that.
But like, was that supposed to... Because they didn't mention it, and I don't know if maybe that's something that the real Lily Elbe suffered from. But that is just the weirdest, like, essentialist...
Well, see, and
It
this
had
is
no
the
point in the movie.
This is the problem of having a movie that is based on a true story, but doesn't try at all to be historically accurate, is that we have no fucking idea what to take from this.
Well, it's even like you were saying, you're doing the research. Like this movie says she has 2 surgery, but like she had what, 5?
She had 5, and she didn't die on the second stage. She didn't die on the labiaplasty. She died from an attempted uterus implant.
Which would probably kill somebody now.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah, like they were doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So, then what was the point of the, like, nosebleeds and cramps?
Yeah, she like had a nosebleed the first time she kissed a guy, which like mood. But
I have also watched anime.
That is also that's the trans woman natural self-defense mechanism. If you're just making out guy, you don't really want it, but you don't want to end it. You're just like nosebleed.
Just spray blood from
Yeah.
your hidden membranes.
Yeah, yeah. As a fucking MCR plays in the background.
so there was some hints at performativism in this that I'm not sure they followed through on, but they're interesting.
Yeah, because there was the whole idea that after transition, Lily didn't want to paint anymore because that was part of her old self, and had the kind of funny line where it was, I don't want to be a painter, I want to be a woman. And then Greta's like, some people do both.
Greta?
Which I feel like... Oh, Greta?
Greta.
Sorry.
Greta?
Greta? Gouda?
Gouda, the
Gouda.
woman.
So...
Goomba.
So there's...
I feel like I've done that, like, where I've, especially, like, early in transition, said, like, kind of sexist stuff in a way to, like, affirm...
Yeah, this is kind of getting into more, like, cliche territory.
Yeah, which early on is kind of like, I don't want to wear pants, women don't wear pants, and then some woman looking at you like, fucking... And I'm like, you know what I mean?
There's a line that she says, which is, I feel like I am performing myself, or something.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. They didn't really do much with it.
Well, I guess it's the idea.
There's like the reluctance of her to go back into boy mode.
Yeah, which is the idea that the boy self has always felt inauthentic, which I feel like there's some truth
And
to.
now that
Yeah.
there's an alternative, it's withering away.
Yeah, but I mean...
I actually oddly enough kind of relate to that.
No, I do too.
Yeah, because I thought like my old boy self and stuff like that, I felt was always a combination of what I viewed the masculine condition to be. I was like, this is what I'm going to build based on
Misery.
This. Yeah, misery is a big part of it, oddly enough. And
To
I
be
still,
male is to be immiserated.
yes, and I carry that part with me to this day.
And to be emasculated is happy.
But yeah, like I like there's parts of it that I try to take the best of everything. I remember even back in high school doing things that I didn't think were good.
No, 100%.
But I did them because I saw other guys doing them. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be a guy. I will do that thing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, too, like it takes the joys and stuff like that. Coming back to the idea of the whole like doesn't want to paint anymore because it's a woman.
Which is apparently part of the real story.
Yeah, and maybe for the original source material. But at the same time, like there's for any trans person listening now, like a lot of you will like the same shit that you do afterwards. Like it's just like you'll like it maybe in a different way.
Well, and you might not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People change, and if you don't, like, if you want to do different things for whatever reason, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, like, even if you don't transition, if you're not trans, even if you're cis, het, white as they come, you will do different things in your lifetime, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it gets to the certain point where you have to wonder, like, what is attached to my gender identity and what's just my specific taste.
Well, it's when you start getting down this rabbit hole, you realize the whole idea of gender identity is kind of bullshit in the most part.
Yeah, it's just like some of it is one thing and some of it is the other thing, and most things that you like and dislike have a lot of different factors, like, and are tied to like many different parts of your identity. It's never just one thing or another.
No, I think gender is whether you like sports or not.
Yeah, no, it's which sports you like. It's whether when you go to said sport event, do you wait in line for the bathroom or do you not? Like that is the only difference in gender.
Going to the clinic, and it's like, well, you have all of the signs of gender dysphoria, and you meet all that criteria, but you kind of like hockey. And that's just not gonna fly.
I mean, that's how like gatekeeping was in the 70s.
It's true.
Just like if you're gonna be a woman, you're gonna have to like lacrosse. I don't understand it. Our science can't explain it, but field hockey and lacrosse.
You cannot get married to a man if you like field hockey. That's
and if
just
you
not...
like football, you only like football when it's the Super Bowl, and you have to like whoever your husband's team is, and you say "Go Orange, guys."
And if you don't like hockey, you are being deported from Canada.
Yeah.
No, like if you like hockey and you're a woman, you go to gender prison with Jordan Peterson.
Wait, is Jordan Peterson also in gender prison?
He's in gender prison for using the wrong pronouns.
I told you I'm a man. Okay, Jordan, calm down. Get back in the cell. Hose him down.
The prison is just like a single cage in the center of Ottawa, and it only has Jordan Peterson.
And Suzuki. David Suzuki is there for some reason.
And Jordan Peterson put himself there.
It's one of those like magic stunts like David Blaine used to do. It's like, watch as I sit in this cage and don't use proper pronouns for 5 days.
It's a public art statement.
I'm gonna sit in this cage and eat only steak until they repeal the trans bill.
They're gonna take away until they get rid of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. I will not rest, Mr. Peterson.
No, maybe that's what the meat thing is. It's like a bizarre hunger strike.
I'm gonna give myself gout.
The SJWs need to stop, or else Jordan Peterson is gonna get scurvy.
This is all of I care about Jordan
You know
Peterson.
what? I am going to detransition to save this poor man. And I challenge you to do the same. Sew it back on. We need to save Mr. Peterson.
No, you don't call a doctor. You just hold your nose while you sneeze and pops right back out. Everyone knows that's how surgery works.
We've come so far since the 20s.
Oh,
okay.
The roaring 20s.
Any final thoughts on The Danish Girl?
Hey, you know what? If you ever decide to try shrooms and just like, what am I going to watch?
Please don't.
Don't watch this movie.
It's long.
Watch Book of Life. That movie on shrooms, and I'm definitely not 100% speaking from experience, is not one of the best movies you will watch on shrooms.
So go watch a Guillermo del Toro movie instead of this one. If you had
Beard Papa.
If you had a bad breakup during transition and want to revisit that, there's a movie for you if you just want to be miserable.
Yeah. Also, under no circumstances watch this with your pre-transition partner. It is super awkward.
Or any cis people. Just
Actually, burn this movie. Get rid of your Netflix subscription. Subscribe to Blizz.tv, which is, I believe, a porno site dedicated entirely to Blizzards. I have no idea where that.
I thought that was just gonna be like, I don't know, like Overwatch.
Oh yeah, no, you know what? Go watch Overwatch. Because there is only one gender, and it is Winston.
Yeah.
Go watch The Shape of Water, which is the only good trans representation movie. I will not be elaborating on this.
Yeah. Don't at me.
Stay tuned for our next episode where we watch Shape of Water. It's actually not the worst idea.
No,
I feel like there's some...
No, there's probably something in there.
Yeah, we're not watching Shape of Water. We're just watching Hellboy, but I've cut out the parts with only Abe. So it's a pretty straightforward movie. All right, so that pretty much sums up our show today. Thank you for the inaugural episode of Tranifesto.
You're welcome.
No, thank you.
We did this for you.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Booster for lending us her couch. Our Booster is our unofficial mascot. She is a cat that just doesn't like to do a lot. Just kind of lies there.
We could all learn a lot from a lazy cat.
It's not actually a cat, it's a trans woman.
Yeah, exactly. This is
it's a completed her transition.
Everyone knows that this is the final stage of transition, is just being a cat.
Lily Elf died on her fifth surgery where they had tried to surgically attach cat ears.
They finally figured out her persona. So yeah, until next time, just remember, nothing fucking matters. So just enjoy what you like.
There's no good representation. Everything is bad, and we're all going to die alone. And you can follow us on Twitter at...
Oh, yes. We do have a Twitter. It is at Tranifesto Pod, P-O-D. If you follow at Tranifesto, there is a really cool girl on there. She's awesome, but she is not us. So please follow Tranifesto Pod for more updates. And if this does even okay, like as in one of our moms likes it, then
my mom is not watching this.
That's fair enough. Your mom can't watch
Listening
a podcast, so it's
Shut
okay. My parents didn't
How
really
dare you say what a woman can't
All
do?
right, anyways,
How
have a good night, everybody.
Dare you
We're gonna play out
99 red balloons
balloons
floating in the summer sky.